talking earlier about what the scene is like, and I was trying to convey to you that it has gotten smaller out here in front of Sacred Heart in terms of the migrant encampment, but don't get me wrong, there are still hundreds of people. So let's take a little walk this way just so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. And as I mentioned, the sidewalks here are full of people, some of them taking advantage of the buses that the city has provided, and in this case they're meant to keep people warm at night, but they're providing shade right now. And then again, you have a lot of members of the media out here too, and then members of the community who have come out and fed some of the migrants. We just saw some folks down here from a local church feeding some migrants. So we are directly in front of Sacred Heart, right at the corner of Father Ram and Oregon. And this is the crowded street that you have out here. Now, you have also a lot of people who are migrant advocates who have come out here, to show support for the migrants. But then, of course, you have people on both sides of this argument. We're going to try to see if we can make our way back over here, a little bit closer here. We're going to talk to Dan Miller, who's an El Pasoan, who I spoke to earlier. Dan, thank you for sharing time with us.
You bet.
Dan, talk to me a little bit about what brings you out here today.
Yeah, so I'd like to firsthand experience what's going on, and then I can screen the information through my own lens. I don't need to watch the news to figure it out. So I'm a concerned citizen. And I'm a concerned citizen in the fact that illegal crossings are occurring on a daily basis in the United States. And historically, we've had maybe 300,000 on average to 1 million illegal crossings annually under the previous 3-4 presidents. And now we're having 2 to 3 million to 4 million annually illegal crossings. The media now portrays this as asylum seekers. Okay, so historically, asylum seekers, maybe 10% of those seeking asylum actually get appointed asylum. So 9 out of 10 of these historically wouldn't meet the requirement for asylum. So while these may be asylum seekers, the media is not reporting that only 10% historically even achieve asylum. And that's what I would like the media to dive into more and get that news, to get that information out.
All right, Dan, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Dan Miller in El Paso in here talking about the situation when it comes to asylum seekers. He's not wrong in the sense of how difficult it is to win an asylum case. About 90% of asylum cases typically are rejected. And what many will tell you, critics of the Biden administration or critics of the current immigration system will tell you that asylum was not meant as a way to seek economic refuge, that there is no such thing as economic asylum, because in many cases you have people coming here to seek a better life, coming to the U.S. to work, and that is where critics will tell you asylum law doesn't extend. However, there are people on the opposite side of that argument that tell you absolutely people deserve to seek refuge from authoritarian governments and should come to the United States and be granted that right. That is what you will hear from people on the opposite side of the argument. So let's see if we can't talk to some people out here. This group here, if you don't mind. Do you mind if we did a quick interview with you guys? So I see that you have a sign here that says Borders Kill, and you're definitely, I saw that you're against Title 42. Your thoughts and your name, too.
My name is Ana Reza, and well, I mean, I think our immigration system is not good. It's unhealthy. It creates, I mean, we asked a lot of the gentlemen here and asked them, is this sign true? Does border kills? They've been through 8 or 9 borders and they've seen a lot of deaths. Then they get here and look at what they're seeing. In our country, where we say we're the greatest country, our immigration needs to change. Our laws need to stop criminalizing people. We need to stop criminalizing, instead welcoming, being a force of love, and being a force where we need workers. I think I see signs everywhere in El Paso. I see signs. I was in San Antonio, need workers, we need workers. Here are a lot of workers, but they need the opportunity and the chance to become part of our country. And all they want to do is work and support their families. They're fleeing violence, they're fleeing poverty, they're fleeing climate change. And it's time that we as a country realize that we need to do better. And I would tell Biden that you need to stand up to reform, you need to do an executive, whatever you can do in your power to bring change. The time is now. We are here.
Thank you so much, Mr. I appreciate that. Well, there you have it. People on both sides of this very contentious, very difficult, very complicated issue, and people here still gathered out here in front of Sacred Heart Church. We'll give you a look around a little bit, and you can see that, again, it remains a very active scene. Some folks out here with Biden and Harris signs, and also just people getting some lunch that was delivered earlier today by some volunteers. Others just seeking refuge in the shade in what's becoming a pretty warm January day. That is the latest from here. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we'll send it back to you two, John and Selena, in the studio.
Yeah, Robert, when I was out there several weeks ago, things were pretty hectic, and from what it looks like, there are a significant amount of migrants currently in downtown. There's not any barriers or any cones blocking off the roadway, right? So if people are in this area, they're probably going to want to slow down and probably stay as vigilant as possible, because from what it seems like, this could turn into a safety concern.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Assistant City Manager Mario D'Agostino said that very thing, that he's worried about whether or not the bigger this gets, the more dangers it presents, in terms of dangers that are presented to the migrants and to people who live around here. Let's see if we can walk out into the street a little bit and show you just to kind of give the viewers a better idea of what you're talking about, Selena. No, there are no traffic cones per se. Again, you'll see some enforcement. You'll see some officers out here sometimes stopping traffic when it gets a little too hectic. But let's walk out of the street here, Rudy, if we can, and give you an idea of what the street looks like, because this is an interesting development. You're seeing a tow truck arrive, so I'm not exactly sure if someone's going to get towed, because definitely some people are illegally parked. But look, this is an active street. We're right in the front of Father Ram here in a busy Segundo Barrio, and so you've seen trolleys come by. In fact, there's a trolley that's not far from us coming down this way. So we're going to walk over here, and there's a tow truck that's in the way. Maybe one of our competitors is getting towed. We're not sure. But look, it's busy, it's chaotic. It's a, busy, chaotic day to begin with when it's a Sunday, and it's a nice day down here in South El Paso. Of course, you've got the pedestrian bridges right next to us, so there's already traffic that comes as a result of that. But now you have some mobile kitchens that are serving food down here. You've got the Brio buses, and of course, still hundreds of migrants that are camped out in front of Sacred Heart, hoping that President Biden might have passed by, the motorcade might have gotten a look. That's what many were hoping for. And many were hoping that maybe that would compel the president to take action. That was those are some of the wishes that we heard from migrants earlier today, but that does not appear to have been the case.
I'm just curious, since you're right there and you can kind of see everything up close, is it mostly curious El Pasoans who are out there today, or is it migrants?
Well, it's a mix, John. I can tell you, I would say certainly more migrants are out here than those who are curious, but it's a mix. You've got organizations that are out here advocating on behalf of the migrants. So we were talking to some officials from LULAC who are out here. You've got church volunteers who are out here feeding the migrants. You've got a food truck down there right in front of that Brio bus serving food to the migrants. But listen, let's not kid ourselves. Why we definitely have a lot of people out here trying to get a sense of what it looks like. We heard from Dan Miller earlier that called himself a concerned citizen that wanted to get a first-hand look at what's happening in Segundo Barrio. There certainly is that element, but overwhelmingly you still have at least 200 to 300. It's difficult to get an exact count, of course, but that's my guess. 200 to 300 migrants are still forming a camp here on the sidewalks in front of Sacred Heart Church.